Hello,
Nerd.
hello.
Hey,
How's it going, Steven? Welcome to
it's
the stream.
yeah, it's been a weekend.
It's been a weekend, so guys, if you didn't already know, we're with Mr. Steven Outley himself, Konami judge extraordinaire, but also on sometimes on the weekends he's also a blazing branded king. And recently, what did you just do?
I got top eight at the Pittsboro regional. Got eighth place.
The Pittsboro regional, very nice. So, and what were you running? Of course.
I was running 60 card branded.
Of course, of course. And here's the deck list I just flashed up on screen for you guys so you can actually see it. Shout out to Steven though, because this happened just yesterday. So very very recent. There's only been a few topping branded deck profiles, so definitely want to congratulate you on doing so well, and that you had joined the Discord call earlier in the week to discuss some theory, and it looks like you executed on that theory. So I wanted to get your opinion, talk about your run and talk about your list and like what you think about branded for this format and going forward, because you're on a lot of different texts that I think a lot have not been highlighted yet, honestly. So before we get into it, because I do have your deck profile in front of me, do you have any shout outs?
Yeah. Huge shout outs to you guiding the way, all the brandies in the Facebook group chat and Discord. Shout outs to Yassine because I saw a video that Yassine did that gave me like the idea of like how we can do the cool thing that we're going to talk about later. And yeah, shout outs to House of Cars, my locals, and just everyone that just like talked to me throughout the day. Uh, it was a fun event.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So 60 cards. Let me ask you first. Have you always been someone to run 60 cards? I know, like, for people who aren't familiar, I'll throw it up on screen too in a second. But you were the one who, at the end of Day One at YCS Indy, was in the branded mirror match against Pac. What was have you always been on 60 since then?
Not always, but probably like 80%, 90 of the time. I have an addiction to 60 card piles. Even when I wasn't playing branded, like even when I play like Virtual World or like back in the day when I played Pendulum, it was always just like
Selected to
pile
start
decks.
off with.
Okay, so yeah, no, okay, so I get it now. But so I see a lot of spicy takes. I mean, we could just go card by card and I can kind of just ask you questions on, I guess, your ratios. Um
Hmm.
so looks like you have three Aluber, Crazy Standard, two Quem, two Cartesia, with three Fallen of Albaz. Using the CR Fallen of Albaz is pretty spicy. But
Yeah, Euro too.
Euros, exactly. And then you have one Blazing Ecclesia, which I think we can get into after the ratios. But anything to say about the standard ratios? No three Cartesia. You didn't find yourself ever needing the third.
Yeah, no, it was like one of those things where because of just like how um absurd like Fiends and Snake Eye is, you just can't afford to like draw too many normal summons. Um and two just felt like enough. Because usually three is just nice in a grind game, but because the games end so fast, if you get blown out, I just felt like two was just fine. Basically, the Incredible Ecclesia basically took the spot of like the third Cartesia.
So why did you run Incredible Ecclesia, the Virtuous, in the main deck? As you guys can see right there, isn't that normally a Sword Soul card?
Normally, yeah, but you can special summon Fallen Albaz. So in the same theory, that where like going fusion deployment, summoning Cartesia can like bait out interactions. But it's just a fourth copy of Fallen Albaz. And its effect to like add back uh during the end phase is really nice. Just have like extra discard water. Um, it came up a lot, and then it was also like another tuner, which will come up later.
Yeah, so definitely watch until the side deck guys because it'll make all the sunswoods that we get there. But besides that, we see 3 Shrouded Dragon, which has become pretty staple and branded on top of 1 Mercourier, 1 Spriggan's Kit, and then the Bestial package of Bestial Lubellion, Magdema, and 3 Saronniers. So what led you to running that heavy Bestial package? Fiendsmith format got you doing that?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Forgot that one of the Fiendsmith cards still special summons another one from Banish. I didn't know that. 'Cause I didn't read. Um, but sometimes you can hit them and it matters. But sometimes you just want to deny them ways to keep like recurring the engine back because it's just such a broken engine that it just never stops. It just puts itself back, and then even if you survive their board, they just do it again, and it's just like nothing happened. It's like the perfect tempo engine.
Did you but you ended up liking the main deck Magnuma and 3 Saronniers. Plus you do have the
Yeah,
two high spirits as well.
yeah. It was the dragons were nice. They're just bodies. And sometimes they'll come up when you have to hit the IP sometimes. I mean, even against like Ubel, sometimes it can come in clutch where if they don't open throne, you just force them into weird situations where you can they'll try to target to bring the Spirit of Ubel back or something. You just banish it, and then you just put them on, and you put them on like forcing them to have to go into like the engraver combo, which makes them more like susceptible to nib. I don't have nib in my list, but I was considering that. Um, the better players can play past things, but for the players that don't know certain lines, like hitting them with a Visio at certain spots could like make things awkward to where the board's not as hard to like crack.
Yeah, no, 100%. So I understand that kind of heavy package, and I think at that point we can just get into the spells and traps, which are definitely very spicy. I mean, I do see the standard, of course, branded package, or 3 opening, 3 fusion, 2 red, and 1 lost. But you do have a few spicy spells or spells and traps on top of 2 branded high spirits, which we just talked about. But you're also running branded sword and branded banishment. So, what led you to go to the school of Raoul with the branded sword and also the branded banishment? What do we have some spice in the extra deck? What was the tell me all about how those cards perform
Yeah,
for you.
well, as far as like banishment goes, banishment's kind of nice because there's just ways where it's nice to just like recur back a Quim, an Aluber, or just like a Mirror Jade that's like either sent or if you get hit with Nib and then just banish. But you typically use it's another way besides like Brandon Red and Cartesia to make like the Light and Darkness like Dragon Lord,
So you okay, so
which
you are online Darkness Dragon Lord.
yeah, that card is like really nice because like I only puppet locked like I think like 2 out of the 8 rounds I puppet locked.
Oh wow, and how many
And
times did you go into Light and Darkness Dragon Lord?
I went to Light and Darkness Dragon Lord on 2 separate times.
Yeah.
Once was in like in round 2. The other one was when I played Hoban in round 7.
Oh, you played Hoban. Nice. You'll have
Yeah,
to go.
round 7. Yeah, we had a really good match. Our game 1 was like 6 minutes. Just like a really just back and forth. It's just you know, Moon Goddess in the combo is just really broken. So
Yep. You gotta kind of grind from there. I understand. You do have did you like branded sword overall? Like,
yeah, I love Brainstorm was really nice because when you do the line where like if you open a Bistio and Quim and you just dump them a courier, banish a Bistio, get a search, and then you use sword to like get them a courier, so this way you're not susceptible to like a Bistio because other people are main decking Bistios too, so it just helps with that line. There's some times where you're forced to do the line where you make the Lubellion and you don't put it back because you have to make it like a Furious or like something else, and then eventually you banish it for like Albion, and it's just a nice way to like recur. It just recurs back things that are just needed from the banished file.
you didn't work on it at all.
No, like
Nice.
it's either just a nice discard, and I did act funny enough, I did actually use it in, like to survive Tenpai. Because they went battle phase. and we're popping off. And then I went branded sword, banished like 4 of branded spells and made the 4 tokens and didn't die.
Hell yeah. Love that. So at that point, we do have the 3 Pot of Desires, which I really, really like as someone who's been maining Pot of Desires for the last for the last 2 formats actually. I just think it's a very good card, but how did it perform for you?
It was pretty good. It made a few actions of like the first action you do. It sometimes it just gives you just enough extenders. It's really good when you're going into siding because you just I play so many 3-0s on the side. You just want to just dig for like what you need. Um, because and we'll talk about side patterns later because there's some cards you see that you would just think you only put in going second, but like sometimes I'll still take the cards out depending on the matchup and still have them in for like when I go first.
Yeah, okay, so we'll get to that there. And then the last couple questions I have for you for the main deck is that you are running a spicy board breaker package, opting not to run Book of Eclipses, however, running things like 2 triple tactics talents on top of the thrust package with 3 super poly and 3 dark ruler no more. How were the super polys for you, as this is a board breaker that I have not seen too much be used and branded this format for whatever reasons. So let me know how that worked
Um,
out for you.
yes, Super Poly was really nice. To I half the time I didn't really use it to multiple monsters on my opponent's board. It was just more so just like one monster on mine and then like one on theirs. And the funny enough, like I just needed a card that like my opponent couldn't respond to because Dark Ruler and Evenly are nice, but if they just have if you're going against the Desiree and they have a trap or something to chain, it just gets negated. So it was just a breaker where I didn't have to draw like two breakers for it to work.
Okay,
Uh,
and it worked out for you though. You like that you didn't find yourself with like Desiree going to graveyard, like that being an issue at all, or were you able to play around that?
nah, I was able to play around it for the most part because most of the time, like you activate Lost, and then they're so confident that like nothing's gonna happen, so they just allow it, and then you just go super poly hit, and then Desiree will just won't be able to resolve.
Okay, that makes sense. And then you obviously just have standard called by Gold Sark and then Retribution and Duplication with no Foolish Burial being in the main deck. So I will switch over now to the side deck and extra deck, and we can get into the extra deck first. We have, of course, the 2 Grand Guignol plus 2 Mirror Jade plus 2 Albion with the 1 Lubellion, the Searing Dragon, for a pretty standard ratio on top of the Rinbrum Albion Sanctifier Dragon and the Titaniclad. Not too much to really talk about there unless you had any comments.
No, like I said, they don't like basically like normally there's only like one flex spot in Branded, but like I took out the Drake of Sepelia for like the Light and Darkness Dragon Lord. I just felt Light and Dragon Lord is just such a crazy card. Uh, because in simplified game states it just negates anything, and then when it leaves, you can bring back like any dragon from the grave. Um, so a lot of times, like I wouldn't die because they would just have to like waste their battle phase to attack over it. Mud Dragon the Swamp was just like the best like super poly card. Um,
Did you ever find
More so
yourself
just
missing Garura?
uh, yeah, probably yeah, just because like when you're going against Feedsmith, they summon multiple ones, and it's also against Ubel too. Guru probably could have been better, and then it had a little bit more. I probably would switch Mud Dragon for Guru just because it has more synergy with the Grand Guignol too, like going first,
Oh, good point.
just to
Good
get like an
point.
additional draw.
Yeah.
So yeah, I probably if I had a choice to make a change, I probably would play. Yeah, I probably would play Guru over the Mud Dragon.
And then so tell me, the Light and Darkness Dragon Lord, would you run it in the future going forward? In the games that it came up, was it pretty consequential? Like, you think it's pretty good though overall, because you mentioned kind of in the simplified board states, it can be just such a
Yeah, it
powerhouse.
was it was pretty good because there's everyone's on more main deck Bystial, so a lot of times like I didn't. Sometimes I would send Puppet not because I felt like I needed it, but just more so as a distraction. And then would just get bestialed, and then my red and banishment plays would just be free to just to make it. You can also make it all Cartesia too, and like set lines like up. Like it's just really nice and like simplified game states because it's not something like people know about more about Brandon now, but this card's something they're really kind of like not as prepared for.
Yeah, I bet they can really
So
throw off people. Hard to play around.
yeah, because like when you get to a point where they're about to like try to push through your board, and then you just make this, and then they're just sitting there like, oh, and it doesn't destroy it. It doesn't destroy, just negates. As far as like monster effects, which is really nice because then it doesn't trigger like any of like their destruction effects.
Yeah, that's very nice. And then you also just have like the Borreload and the Guardian Chimera and Queritus just to finish up kind of the standard last couple extra deck
Yeah,
cards.
yeah.
Um
I never made them. I like made Furious Dragon like once. Um, Chimera, Guardian Chimera is like weird. Like I feel like I never make it. Like it's just. But I know you always kind of like need it in like some simplified game state. I feel like if you played the Patrick Energy, you probably would play it. But sometimes I consider like taking out Guardian Chimera. Sometimes,
really, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I see you didn't run Stapelia, but so it doesn't seem like you needed that.
Nah, Sapelia actually would have been like decent to play just because it was super poly. It beats the Desiree. When you're going against Phoenix Smith Bell, it beats the Desiree the Exceed dude board. Like when they have both.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. And then we could talk about your spicy extra deck because you have a few more, or sorry, side deck because you have 3 more extra deck cards in there. I think I'm gonna. I mean, where do we even start? Because let's just start with the easy stuff. We have the 3 spooky dogwood, of course, um,
Mm-hmm.
plus 2 phantasme, and then 3 molt charmy as your. Well, you're also running Uka Fox. We can talk about that, I guess, after separately maybe because they're all in the same package. So you tell me. So how was your hand trap package?
I'm not gonna lie. I, this was like the best hand trap package for me. Me personally, just in 60 cards because like the side patterns are just so easy. When you're playing this, the Uga Fox is actually like the best card all day.
Really?
Yeah, like even if you weren't going against like the Fiendsmith like engraver stuff, like when people summon, because everyone takes this like decks take long to like do their stuff. So anytime someone stuff summons from the main deck, which happens like a lot, you just summon it, and now they're on a clock because they just burn for every time they summon. Um, and then also against the Tenpai player in a game 3, they went first, set up the board of like spears with 2 set back row and stuff. I set Fallen Albaz. They correctly activate spears to tribute bounce field throw and they summon Mario Drago, right? From the deck. I'm like, sure, Uka Fox is the Earth, and then I summoned it, and then went in battle phase, attacked over the Kokimaro, and then main phase 2 proceeded to just like, push to just win.
Wow.
It was actually like hilarious.
So what is
Because
Uka Fox accomplishing for you? Like, are you using that with the Ecclesia and the main deck?
Yes. Funny enough, it works not only with the Ecclesia and the main deck, but it works also with like Quim Cartesia, depending on like your game state. I like Uka Fox because on their turn 0 it can do something, but even in like mid game, it can do something depending on like what your opponent does. And if they have a light, you can then just summon Quim or Cartesia, and then just have natural like extenders. Like I was in a simplifying game state. Me and my opponent were going back and forth. They were on like Fire King, Beansmith, Snake Eye, because there's a whole bunch of just mixes of those decks. And we were just in a weird game state. And then he summoned Engraver from deck, and I was just like, cool, summon. Because the Ecclesia was already in my hand.
Hmm.
So I just went Fox, summon, and then went Quim, dump, Fallen Albaz, and then just waited. And he went for into extra deck, and then I summoned Albaz, and then made Mirror Jade, and then I just like took the tempo from there. But it just has like a lot of good uses.
It's some spice. I haven't seen it really at all, but it's something that we were kind of theorying for a bit there
Mm-hmm.
before Nats, and I'm glad to see it like work out so well because Uka in theory just like crushes the snake eye board when you're able to go like Uka on your opponent's turn on like, Requiem or whatever, and or just being able to banish and disrupt their board while getting advantage on turn 0 is super good because you aren't giving up much advantage, and Uka on top of being the burn option with Masquerade is insane. I'm not sure if you ever got a board of
No,
Masquerade
yeah,
plus
I did
Uka.
actually. In game 2, which forced it actually like forced like Pat to scoop to go to a game 3. Is that I summoned Uka and then summoned Cartesia when Cartesia effect to fuse itself in like a tragedy I had in hand to make Masquerade, and then I got a search, and then he's just taking 9 and 3 every single time. He's just like, yo, let's just go to game 3. I'm like, yes, because I was down a game and it just like forced it.
Yeah, no, Gizmek Uka, the Festive Fox of Fecundity, wherever that is really it's a spicy card that you guys should consider for this format for sure.
It's
Um
also a level 7, which matters later.
yes, so but it looks like so Dogwood and Perulia worked out for you pretty well, and then you have Phantasme, very good. I think Perulia is just great being able to draw you into like multiple board breakers too. It's just how you can like
Mm-hmm.
win against Feedsmith and everything like that. The Feather Duster was good for you, one off before we get into the extract
Yeah,
cards.
I wanted to have at least like one like back row removal card. I guess. I mean, this could have been like anything, but I just decided it was just going to be Feather Duster.
Yeah, that's fair. And then so you have the Albulinatus, Masquerade, and the is that a Psychic and Punisher
It
QCR I
is.
see?
It is. Shout out to Yassine because I watched a video where he was like, if you want to be spooky, like Speed Smith saying, I can do this, and I'm just sitting here like, can Brandon do that, but with less steps? And then we can in like 3 different ways. Uh, the first way, which is like the coolest way, is that if you get Spooky Dogwood while you're in the middle of doing your combo uninterrupted, or even if you have played your hand traps, I guess you do this. You do the puppet combo, but what you do is that you give them puppet, but you put puppet in attack position. Make sure all your cards are in defense position, and then you take their spooky and summon it in defense position. Because most of the time you're going to have a level 8 on field, and then when it goes back to you on the crackback, you then just synchro your 8 and a 3 for Psychic and Punisher, and then they're just dead. That actually happened. That actually happened like round 1. My opponent was at 20,400 life points. I was at 61, and then the other 2 ways you can make it is just like if you have Phantasme or Uga Fox and just any of your light tuners. So I had Quim and Uga Fox on field, and it went. I puppet locked him. And it went back to me, and we had like 5 minutes left. I then I summon Pep. Then I go Pep effect, target, use the charter my field, and then his set on Chain Trap. He chains. I go Retribution, return my 2 monsters, and then negate it. Um, and it still gets banished. And then I attacked into one of his monsters. My Pep went from had through 23,900 attack. Attacked over that. The life points went from me having 61 now being the lead, where they had like 41. And then I
Oh my
attacked over my
gosh.
puppet because the game state was her. And then I ended up going all beyond Drew and the fusion duplication. I was like, cool, we just have game. And then on my opponent's draw phase, I go duplication, make all beyond, banish 2 monsters, make Masquerade, and he's just dead.
That's crazy, man. I
Yeah,
remember when
like
you came in. That's crazy hearing that worked out. That's awesome though. Um
yeah. And funny enough, even when you're like, it's actually like sick against when you're going against Ubel, because when sometimes I went in a game state where I was just like, okay, I need to get rid of Nightmare Pain because this card is just ridiculous. So I just went, I left the 1 monster defense. They went attacked into it. I took like 5,000 damage. I'm like, cool. Then on my next turn, because I still had like a Fox on field, I was like, cool, I'll just summon Pep effect, take 1,000, banish self, banish Nightmare Pain. And then I just swung over one of their I just swung over their rage.
Yeah, no, that's actually really spicy against the Ubel matchup just to have that there too. Um so definitely a very cool several very cool techs that you guys can try out for this new format between the Uka Fox and then the Psychic and Punisher. And then you did have the Masquerade and Lenatus in the side. You felt like these were sufficient enough in the side deck for you to not need to main them.
Yeah, it's like Tenpai's kind of like one of those like random. It can be highly represented, but you just never know when you're going to see it. And I just rather just like I just needed to have space for like the normally because normally Albalentus would be in the main extra deck, but I just had the Super Poly flex spot there, and I felt that was more important to have than like worrying about going against Tenpai.
Okay, yeah,
Um,
that makes sense.
and you know, because like the thing is, it's just like you just don't want to like waste a lot of time like starting in too many cards. And Tenpai, the matches against Tenpai are just super fast.
Yeah, that's the good thing about that. Usually you find out if your game's over within 20 minutes against Tenpai. Um,
Hmm.
someone asked, what does Uka Fox do? Uka Fox, basically you can special summon it from the hand when your opponent special summons a monster from the deck, and then when it's normal or special summon, you can target a monster your opponent controls with an attribute and then special summon an monster with the same attribute with equal attack and defense from the deck. So you can
Yeah,
target things like Cartesia, Quem, or Blazing Ecclesia, like Steven was main decking in order to have a main deck Fallen of Albaz on your opponent's turn when they go into like
yeah, that
Fiendsmith
actually happened
combo.
round 8. That got me the win in my last round. He went Engraver, summon Engraver off Requiem, and I was like, Fox, target, summon Incredible Ecclesia, tribute, summon Fallen Albas, discard, made a Mirror Jade, banish one of his extenders, and then he just passed. It was just over.
Yeah, that's really nice. That's really nice, honestly. It's something where I debated on running that or Nib, but I think that Ukafox has so much utility with like the time options and then also being able to get things like Quem or Cartesia too, even. So,
Mm.
definitely just like really great run, Steven, and very 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 spicy deck profile. So I just wanted to thank you for coming on the channel, taking some time, and just wanted to thank you for coming on, talking about your deck.
Oh yeah, no problem, man. Appreciate you having me, and shout out to all my opponents, all my friends, and it was just a really hard time. Shout out to the guy who won the regional. One of my really good friends, Michael Melvin. He was playing Ritual Beast, but I don't like the deck, but I like the person. So yeah, he just won the whole thing.
What was your one loss against?
Oh no, I had 2 losses. I was at 2.
Okay, so what were your losses against?
My losses were so I went 5-0, and then I lost round 6 and 7. I lost my round 6 loss was to the guy who got second place, Christian, and then my second loss in round 7 was a Pat Hoban, and then I won my round 8, and then I got 8th
Okay,
due to tiebreakers.
nice. Yeah, that'll happen when you go 5-0.
Yeah.
So, very nice. All right. Well then, with that being said, I think that will do it for that deck profile. I want to thank Steven once again for coming on.
Oh,
Um,
no, no problem. Shout out Team Aether.
all right. I'll see you around, buddy.
All right, peace.